All right, so last up for the Scream franchise before the new Scream, I watched Scream 4 again, which I've seen a lot of times, like I have with the other movies. Scream 4 is released 11 years after Scream 3, so it's definitely a time jump. And in this one, Sydney returns to Woodsboro, and then a new Ghostface killer starts to kill again, and she's got to solve the mystery of it, as well as Dewey and Gale, who return for the fourth time to try to solve the mystery together. And looking at Scream 4 compared to Scream 3, it's so weird because I love the first two Screams, and I feel like Scream 3 and 4 are pretty equal in like how they're not as good as the first two, definitely, but they have their positives, but they also have their negatives. And it's weird comparing this to Scream 3, where I had other negatives to this. Like, I feel like this one had a better story, but the story is basically a remake of the first one, but just kind of doing a twist at the end, um, which I thought made the characters fine, but they were more forgettable. Like, they were not as forgettable as 3. Like, I like them more than Scream 3, the characters, but they're definitely not as memorable as Scream 1 and 2. Um, this one is just really weird because it is a fourth film, but it is about remakes. And that next Scream movie, which I just saw as well, I just saw, but I forgot to review this in time, so I'm reviewing this already, or reviewing this, but I just reviewed Scream as well. Random tidbit you didn't need to know, but I just watched Scream 5, and that one is connected to like remakes as well. So it's weird to see these last two Scream movies get the uh, stuff connection to it. Like, this movie is a sequel, but it's about remakes. It's about a new set of teenagers at Woodsboro High. Jill, Kirby, um, Charlie, Trevor. I'm trying to think of the other names, but all these other ones who are visited by the Ghostface killer. And I'm not really going to say much about the plot of this because there's really not that much of a difference in plot. It's Sydney's back in Woodsboro with, like I said, Dewey and Gale, and then killings start happening, and then the real interesting thing about it is the ending. The killer reveal, which I'll reveal here, which again, spoilers if you haven't seen Scream 4, but I feel like you would have had to if you're watching this video. But Scream 4 is setting up the fact that it's Sydney coming back to town, and then somebody is wanting revenge on them. And then you realize at the end of the movie that it is Jill and Charlie. Jill is Sydney's cousin, played by Emma Roberts, who is jealous of Sydney. So she grew up in this family hearing about Sydney going through all these tragedies, all these horrible things. And then Jill is just a spoiled brat that wants to be famous. And it's weird because this villain motivation I like because it's really ahead of its time. This movie surprised me rewatching it. It is ahead of its time with the idea of everybody being famous on the internet, everybody getting on the internet making videos, like me. But I'm not famous, but I do make videos, and and it's so weird the fact that this movie was ahead of its time with the idea that, like I said, like Jill's lines in the movie at the end when she's revealed to be the killer, she's like, how do you think people get famous anymore? You don't have to do anything. You just have to have fucked up shit happen to you." And I thought that that was a great line. And I like the fact that just as the killer, Jill was probably the most insane, and I really like that. Emma Roberts, I couldn't say it right. Emma Roberts, I liked in the movie. She's a little over the top, but in a way where it's enjoyable. Like, I thought that whenever she screamed, like, I thought it was entertaining, where she'd scream like to Sydney, like, "You thought you're always so fucking special. Now I'm the special one." Like, that kind of line. Like, that's good. I like the cheesiness of her performance. Like, it's good, and I like how hokey it is. Like, I'm not saying that as an insult to Emma Roberts because I think her performance is really fun. It fits in with the Scream characters because she is over the top, like something like, say, Stu Macher for the first one, or Mrs. Loomis from the second one, who I love. Great, my favorite villain of the franchise. But Jill, I thought I thought Emma Roberts did a great job. I thought she was really the only thing she wasn't was intimidating because she was a small girl who's like under 5 foot tall or 5 foot tall, and like Charlie is probably like my height, like 5'7", 5'8". So like it's like a Culkin and a five foot girl like going off and killing people. Like that just seems really silly. But I'm fine with that. It's a Scream movie. It's not trying to be realistic. But yeah, if those two kids were killers, like nobody would like last. I mean, they wouldn't last. They would be killed easily because they're so small. Um, but I did think that was funny for the idea of that. Just like I did like the idea of this character Jill just being jealous. So like she just goes off and kills people because she's a spoiled brat and then she wants attention. Like I thought that was a cool villain motivation. Like I thought that made this movie like warrant existing. Like I thought that it was more interesting with that. Even though the movie itself by definition should be considered kind of pointless because it is trying to be the same movie again as the first one. It's back in Woodsboro. It's about a new set of characters that deal with the same thing with Ghostface. The only difference is that Jill, the main girl, is the killer, and she wants to be be famous, and she wants to kill all these people and then act like somebody killed them. And it's very fascinating, but I just feel like that's the weakest. This is the weakest in terms of like. Actually, I don't know about weakest in terms of characters. I think I said the Scream 3 characters I think are a little weaker. These ones I think are more interesting, even though they're just kind of carbon copies of the first movie's characters, like all these new characters, besides Jill. Also, Hayden Panettiere is Kirby. I've got to mention, love her. I think she's fantastic in this. I think she's one of those few girls that can pull off the short hair really, really well. Like, she looks great. She's really funny. She's really entertaining. She's got some great lines. I love that she's the horror geek, like the Randy of this group. Like, I thought she was entertaining. Wes Craven even said this before he died in 2015. I think in the commentary for this movie, the audio commentary, I think he says, "You didn't see Kirby die," and Kirby does not get shown that she has died. So maybe she'll be in the new Scream. I don't know, but I'm hoping so because I really liked Kirby. I thought she was one of my favorite characters of the whole franchise. So I really like Kirby and Jill. I really like those characters. I thought that Sydney, Dewey, and Gale are good. They are good like they are in the other movies, but I feel like this is the movie where the least happens to them, which is so weird because it's just very strange that like this one is kind of a reboot sequel, but like this is one of where Sydney's Dewey and Gale are the most uninteresting out of all their movies. Like I feel like Scream 3 even had some more interesting resolution with Sydney. Dewey and Gale in this, pretty much Gale is just trying to get the scoop, like the first movie, like she wants to reveal who the killer is, and then Dewey's kind of like, I'm the sheriff now, I got to do my job, and she's like, why? And then blah blah blah, and then just kind of fight, and it's like it's weird, it's a weaker version of Scream 3 with the characters of the main three, but I still like them, but I don't think that they're not that interesting in this one as opposed to like the other three. Like I think that this one they're not as interesting. So like I said, I think Jill and Kirby are the big standouts. I think that the gore is good, the violence is good. I think the opening scene is good, where it's so weird because this opening scene it shows a thing where these two girls are killed, like in the other movies, like it's Lucy Hale and this other girl. They get killed, then like you see it's stab 6. And then it shows Anna Paquin, Anna Paquin and what's her name? Kristen. I'm blanking on her name, but she's great. I know you know the name. I'm blanking on the name. What the hell is the name? Anna and Kristen, where like Kristen Bell, Anna Paquin and Kristen Bell. They both are. It shows it's stab 6, and then it shows them watching a movie, and then Anna Paquin's like, why do we keep recycling this shit? Like, these horror cliches are so fucking stupid. And then, like, Anna Paquin just, like, Kristen Bell just stabs Anna Paquin in the chest, and she's like, Anna Paquin's like, why? And she's choking blood. And Kristen Bell's just like, because you talk too much. And she just stabs her again, and she just looks at stabbed Anna Paquin and just says, "Now shut the fuck up and watch the movie." Like, that was funny. But then it goes into another thing where it was Stab 6 at first with Lucy Hale, then it was Stab 7 with those actors, and now it's in the actual movie. So it's very confusing in the opening. Like, it was very, very like, and they explain it, the girls in the opening of Scream 4, where they're like, well, if Stab 6 is the opening of Stab 7, then what, blah, 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 like, how does that make sense? So it's kind of a weird opening, but I do like it. It feels like it's too big for its own good, the opening, because it's like, it goes movie to movie, like within this movie, like Stab 6 to Stab 7, then the actual movie of this movie. Like, it's very confusing to explain on camera, but I like that opening. I did like this movie overall. I think it's still really fun and entertaining, but it's the one I could talk at least about. The only thing I think is memorable about it is the ending with Jill, with her being the killer. I think that's interesting. I liked her motivation. Like I said, I like Kirby. I thought that the main three were fine. Marley Shelton was good. Miss Hicks, I thought she was funny. I thought she had some good lines. It just didn't... Besides that, it's just not really much else to mention in Scream 4. Like, it's totally serviceable as a movie, and it's fun, but it's just not that much interesting to talk about. Like, it's definitely more of the ending that's the most important thing in this one, as opposed to some of the other Scream movies where it's like the whole movie is interesting. This one is mostly just the ending, which is not like a terrible thing, but it's fine. Like, I still like it a lot. Like, Scream 3 I like a lot with its flaws as well. But this one just really does suffer from the remake itis, where like it is a sequel but a remake. The characters that are mostly the new characters are kind of shallow and not that interesting. Like the Trevor character, like the boyfriend, like he was just there to be a red herring. Like, maybe he's the killer, but then he's not, and he's just forgettable. I think most of these characters are just not as memorable. And like I said, Scream 3 and 4 have that issue of having that syndrome of like not as interesting characters. Because again, 3 is about these characters from a movie within a movie, filming Stab 3, and then in this one, it's like all these characters are remake characters of the first movie, so it's kind of like they're just kind of more bland by comparison for the most part. Besides Kirby and Jill, like I thought they were cool, but everybody else I was like, they're pretty forgettable. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. Still one of the more unmemorable ones, but 3 I think is still the worst out of all 4 of them. But that's it for my Scream reviews, following up to Scream 5. So I can't wait to watch Scream 5. Or, I mean, I already did. I keep saying that. I've already watched it. I've recorded it. But I forgot to record the Scream 4 video. So here it is right now. If you've stayed here long enough, thank you. I'm awkward again. I'm going to end the video awkwardly. Thanks so much, guys. Talk to you later.